close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport Podcast. My name is Jack McCarran of the Southern Star, and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. On this week's show we're looking ahead to the opening night of the League of Ireland, which kicks off this Friday, and we'll be speaking to Drimoleague's Denzil Fernandes, who looks set to make his Premier League debut for Shelbourne against Cork City.
We're also going to reflect on another good weekend for both senior Cork teams who picked up wins in the league, and we'll preview Thursday's Southern Star, which includes a special feature looking at 20 of the best local sports stars under the age of 20.
But we're going to kick off this week with the League of Ireland Premier Division and Friday's opening night clash between Shells and Cork City, newly promoted Shells and Cork City, who went through a bit of a crisis last season. In a few minutes we'll be joined by Denzil Fernandes, but Kieran, he's not the only West Cork man who could feature in this game.
No, in the red corner we'll have Denzil Fernandes from Drimoleague, and in the green corner for Cork City we'll have Ronan Curtis from Skull. So we've two West Cork players in opposite corners, and what's interesting is that they're former teammates too. Denzil Fernandes played with Cork City underage for a couple of years with their under-19s team, and he was telling me that himself and Ronan played on the same under-19 team for 1 year. I think it was 2017, and they also played a bit of 2016 together. So they're two fellas who know each other quite well, but that friendship will be parked to one side at Turner's Cross this Friday night. Big game for both sides, Jack. I suppose Shells are coming up as First Division champions, and they'll want to make their mark and get points on the board early, because their second game is against Dundalk the following week, so it's a tough opener for them. And then on the other side, Cork City, who had a disastrous campaign last year, they'll certainly want to do a lot better this season, so they'll want to get points on the board early too. So it's an interesting match to kick off the Premier Division campaign. And
before we go to Denzil, I expect he'll probably start this weekend, or at least see some game time. But what's your sense of where Ronan Hurley is going into this season's campaign?
Ronan had a very good season last year with Cork City, and he was rewarded with a contract there in late November, so he signed a new contract with them. You expect Ronan to feature a lot at left back. Like, he's a very, very good defender, so he cemented his position in the team last year. Hopefully he'll kick on this year. Came through Bunratty United and so on. But it's great that you've two West Cork fellas playing kind of top level football.
Two of the biggest clubs in the country as well. Top
level, like League of Ireland football, and it's great too for kids across West Cork to know that whether you're playing, like Denzil played with Drina Rangers underage, Ronan played with Bunratty underage, so it's great that young players playing across West Cork know that if they stick at it, if they work hard enough, that there is a pathway through to the League of Ireland. So great to see, and hopefully be a good game on Friday night.
Well, let's hear from Denzil now, the man who went from being a baker in Drimoleague, or in Dunmanway. Where was he working as a baker?
It was in Dunmanway, wasn't it?
Yeah, in Dunmanway. So from being a baker in Dunmanway to a League of Ireland Premier Division player.
We're delighted to be joined on the Star Sport Podcast this week by Denzil Fernandes. It's a big week for Denzil and his Shelbourne teammates as they kick off their Premier Division Electricity League campaign this Friday night away to Cork City at Turner's Cross. Before we look at the game itself, Denzil, you obviously spent a couple of very important years with Cork City, so are you looking forward to heading back to Turner's Cross this Friday night?
Well, I'm very excited to go back to Turner's Cross. I have a lot of fond memories from my playing time there, from playing the Youth League, winning then the McGill Cup final and winning the All-Ireland. So it'll be very good to go back there, and I'm really relishing the moment, and hopefully to come away with the 3 points. But in the wrong colours.
How important was Cork City for you in terms of your development? Like you mentioned there, like you played under 19 with Cork City, you were there for a couple of years. Kind of a John Caulfield was obviously there at the time as well. It was a very important stage in your career, Denzil.
At the moment, I think it is, Kieran, to be honest, getting playing time and all that. And I think the club I'm at now, Shelburne, is giving me a lot of opportunities, and I can't appreciate that enough. They brought in a young manager, and he has a lot of belief in me. And I think playing time at the age that I am now is very vital for me to progress as a player. And you never know, I could have a good year now this year, and let's see where it takes me.
Like, even looking back to Cork City for a moment, it's fantastic for West Cork to have players in the Premier Division, and obviously you're with Shelbourne on the opposite side on Friday night. Ronan Curtis from Scull is with Cork City. You played together in the Cork City youth teams, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, me and Ronan were very close when we were both playing together. We would travel up together and all that, and we had a good chemistry going with each other because we used to play both on the same wing. When I used to play on the left wing, and he'd be left back, but I'd be on the right most of the time. But yeah, me and Ronan have very fond memories together. But be coming up against them now on the pitch this Friday, and we'd be unfortunately enemies on the pitch, but friends off it, obviously.
That friendship will be parked this Friday night. Like you mentioned there, like you moved to Shells last summer from Cove, and you helped Shells get promoted from the First Division. You've gone up to the Premier Division as champions. For you now to be playing in the Premier Division, how important is that for you?
Playing the Premier Division is a part of me because it's getting more physical now. The intensity of the game is very high, and look, it's very vital for me to play at this level now because I wanted to play in the Premier Divisions as soon as I got out of the Cork City on the 19th. So I'm really relishing this moment and hopefully pick up the standard now and look forward to the year ahead in the Premier Division. Hopefully I can make my mark now.
We've been speaking, Denzil, for the last couple of years. We've obviously followed your career quite closely, and you're someone who loves a challenge. So is a challenge for you now to kind of take your game to the next level, being up in the Premier Division?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's a big challenge for me this year. A lot of reporters and all that have been on to me past 2-3 weeks. Got interviewed there after our friendly last week by Irish Football Fan TV. So there is a lot of challenges for me ahead. I know it's a big year for me because I've done well last year, and people are looking at me now saying that I should kick on again this year, and that's a no-brainer for me. I should be able to score goals and provide assists now, and that's what I'm aiming for this year. It's a big year ahead, and hopefully I can kick on now, and the only way forward is work hard, and that's all I can do at the moment.
For Shells, like I mentioned earlier, you're coming up as First Division champions. What's your target this season, Denzil?
This season, I think, looking at realistically, is basically going out against each team and trying beating them. But if we were to look at it at a table point of view, I'd say we'd hopefully finish mid-table. But people are saying that we should look at staying up, and realistically, that's what we're looking at as well, staying up and getting as much points on the board, because it's our first year back in the Premier, which the club vitally needed to get back up. So I think that's the most realistic target for us, stay up and get as much 3 points we can in each game that we go into.
How much are you enjoying your time with Shelburne? They're obviously a massive club, like they're a really big club, and you joined them last summer, so you've settled in there now. You're there 6 or 7 months. How much are you enjoying your time with the club?
Oh, I'm enjoying it very much. I moved up full time this year now, so I'm juggling with a job as well. And the fans have been very welcoming, and they got a little song going on for me, so that's very welcoming, to say the least, when they welcome you into the club like that, and gives you a sense of being at home, because I do get homesick once every so often. But the players, the staff, and everyone else at the club have been very welcoming, and can't appreciate that enough.
What's that like? What's it like to kind of hear the fans kind of sing that song about you?
Oh, it's surreal to hear fans sing your name, because it gives you a confidence boost on the pitch, and you just want to give them your all. You want to show a bit of magic on the pitch and score goals and help the team win. And it's just an unreal feeling to hear your name in the stands. It's what you dream of when you're a kid, playing for a club one day and hearing all the fans cheer your name like that. And just a dream, yeah.
And how have you settled into Dublin? You mentioned there that you moved up there full time. What's that been like, kind of finding your feet in Dublin?
Yeah, it's going well so far. I'm working during the day and then in the evening I'm training straight away. So it's hard because basically I'd work from morning until the evening and then straight into training. So it's tough enough, but the hours are flexible, so I can work around my hours and focus on my training in the evening, because we train around 4 times a week and then we play the match on the Friday. So it's tough, but I'm enjoying it at the moment, so that's the main thing.
Pre-season, how did that go for you?
Pre-season went fairly well. We won 4 out of 5 games. No, we won 3 out of 5 games. We drew 1 and we lost 1 last week. And I was happy enough with my performances. Got a goal and assist anyway, but hopefully kick on now to the main season ahead now.
And it's a big start, like we said, Turner's Cross this Friday night with Cork City. Then the week after, take it on Dundalk. So you're really going in at the deep end. So you should have a good indication fairly early on how you're going to fare for the rest of the season.
Yeah, totally, 100%. This week and next week will show how we're going to react, to how many points we're going to get, and it's extremely vital. We're really focused on getting as much points on the board, because February is an important month. We've a lot of games coming up after Dundalk. We have Finn Harps on the Monday, and then we have St. Pat's on the Friday. So we have to really take care of ourselves and just go all out every game that we play.
Will you be chatting to Ronan Hurley this week, or will you leave it till after the game? Will there be any texts flying between the two of you?
We were talking away 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were having a full-on chat about the game, but we'll leave it until after the game this Friday. Anyway, we're going to meet after the game, because we're meant to take pictures with the West Cork squad and all that, me and Ronan. So, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Like I mentioned earlier, Denzil, it's great to have 2 West Cork players, 2 products of the West Cork Schoolboys League, kind of on opposite teams in the League of Ireland, the Premier Division. It does show all the youngsters around West Cork that there is a pathway from here, from the Schoolboys League to the very top. So it does give encouragement to players right across West Cork.
Yeah, of course. Me and Ronan are basically examples of how you can go from West Cork Schoolboys to playing in the Premier Division in Ireland. And there's no doubt there's a lot of young players coming through in the West Cork Schoolboys League now. So all I can offer advice is just work hard, keep embracing the challenges ahead, and enjoy every moment. That's the main thing.
Great stuff, and I hope you enjoy every moment of the season coming up, Denzil. Thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck on Friday night, and best of luck in the season ahead, and no doubt we'll be chatting again quite soon.
Thanks for listening to the Star Sport Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to all things sport in West Cork. Don't forget to pick up this Thursday's Southern Star newspaper, including our award-winning sports section with everything a West Cork sports fan could want. In shops across West Cork and online from anywhere in the world via www.thesouthernstar.ie/e-paper. The Southern Star and the Star Sport Podcast, number 1 for sport in West Cork.
The prospect of Cork football fans celebrating double All-Ireland success later in the year looks to be less and less far-fetched with each passing game in the National Football League. On Sunday, Ronan McCarthy's men made it 3 wins from 3 in Division 3, beating down 16 points to 1-8 in a repeat of the 2010 All-Ireland final, while on Saturday the ladies' side strengthened their grip at the top of Division 1 when they held off a late rally from All-Ireland champions Dublin at a rain-swept Croke Park. So Kieran, I've alluded to it already, we're probably going to see both teams win All-Ireland titles this year. But before we go too deep into that, maybe just give us your 5 biggest takeaways from the weekend's action.
We'll start off with the Cork men's footballers. Like you said, Jack, 3 wins from 3 in Division 3 of the National Football League. Cork topped the table. Ronan McCarthy set Cork a target of 10 points to win promotion, and they have 6 points on the board, so they're well on course for promotion. Their next game up is against Tipperary on Saturday week, and another win away there would put them right on the cusp of promotion. The win against Down, it was their toughest challenge yet. They passed it with flying colours, so far so good for the Cork footballers. It was a good day at the office. Turning to the Cork ladies, they beat Dublin by 8 points to 1-4 in Croke Park on Saturday night. Even though it's the league, it's still an important psychological win for the Cork ladies team to beat Dublin in their own backyard in Croke Park. and seeing too is it's a much changed Cork team at the moment because they're missing a lot of the experienced players like Ciara O'Sullivan, Darren O'Sullivan, Emer Meany was missing the last night, Emer Scally wasn't involved, Niamh Cotter wasn't there. So it's great for this kind of young Cork team to pick up such an important win against the Dubs, and it keeps the Dublin ladies top of Division 1 as well, with 3 wins from 3 also.
The Cork ladies.
Yeah. Switching back to the men's footballers, Ian Maguire had another superb game last Sunday against Down. We've known about his potential for some time now, but he started the league really, really well. He's such a powerful runner from midfield. He kicked a point 2 against Down, which was great to see. He's a lot of potential, Ian Maguire. He can become one of the best players in the country. So he started the league really well, and that's very encouraging for the summer ahead. Switching back to the ladies, another player who's playing quite well is Laura O'Mahony of Skibbereen, the O'Donovan Rossa player. She's been playing wing back for the first 3 games in the Ladies Football League, and she's impressed there. I was chatting to Aoife Fitzgerald earlier about her, and he said she was brilliant against Dublin on Saturday night. She was marking Carla Rowe, who's one of Dublin's best players, and Laura did really, really well. She's a player who can, I suppose, excel as a wing back because she's great stamina, she's great speed, she loves to get forward. So we'll watch that with interest, how Laura will get on in the next couple of games in the league. And switching back to the men's footballers for the final one, it was interesting to note after that Ronan McCarthy praised the influence of selector Cian O'Neill on the Cork senior football team. Cian is new to the Cork management team this year, having been Kildare manager for 4 years. And what Ronan McCarthy said after is, you were seeing a lot of the team. You were seeing a lot in the team of Cian's coaching. He's great at getting the players to play different scenarios. I thought we did that well. It was a more mature aspect of the performance relative to previous years. What Ronan was alluding to was how the Cork team played very well when they were down to 13 players late in the second half, and that was down to what Cian O'Neill is doing with them in coaching. So it's great to have that outside voice in Cian O'Neill. The players seem to be buying into it, and so far so good. So
all positives there, which is a good sign. And when you consider where Cork were at this time last year in the opening rounds, I know it was Division 2, but the opening rounds of the league, and it was all doom and gloom. We came onto this podcast every week and said, can it get any worse? When are we going to hit rock bottom, etc., etc. Essentially, we ended up saying that rock bottom was relegation to Division 3, but with 3 wins on the bounce, I'm not going to say the hype is building up. I potentially am trying to hype it up a bit, but there is positive vibes coming out of the camp, which is always good at this time of year. So I think so far so good.
100%. And like I said, our Tipperary are next up Saturday week. And after that then Cork have 2 home games. I think it's Louth and Derry are both coming to Páirc Uí Chaoimh. So Cork there have the potential to pick up 2 more wins at least at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. That'll get them to that magical 10-point mark that Ronan McCarthy is talking about. It would be surprised now if Cork didn't win promotion from Division 3. And if we're looking at the bigger picture, which is the Summer Championship, if Cork can go into the Summer Championship off the back of a successful promotion campaign, which would also include in a Division 3 final in Croke Park, it'll leave them in good fettle. And what's interesting too is that Cathal O'Mahony and Damien Gore played well too against Down the last day. They both scored 3 points each, and for Damien Gore of Kilmacabea, he had a tough day at the office the first night against Offaly. He was subbed at half time when Michael Hurley came on. So for Damien to kind of get almost 60 minutes under his belt, to kick 3 points and get some super scores as well, it's great for his confidence. And what it all does, it just increases Cork's options going into the rest of the league, because we haven't seen Mark Collins yet. We haven't seen Brian Hurley, who's only a couple of weeks away from a comeback. The Nemo lads are only been integrated in the last couple of games, Luke Connolly and Paul Kerrigan. So the Cork panel is definitely strengthening. They'll need to finish the league with almost known 12 or 13 of the starting 15 for the Munster semi-final against Kerry. But you'd have to say so far so good. I would kind of, on the other hand, kind of say that it is Division 3 football, and we kind of have to keep that in the conversation too, because the likes of the Offaly's and the Leitrim's, kind of, with the greatest respect to them, they're not going to win All Ireland. So for where Cork need to get to, they're on the right track. They need to get back up to Division 2. Eventually they need to get back up to Division 1. They need to be playing the Dublins and the Kerrys and the Mayos and the Tyrones, but they are where they are. They're pointed in the right direction at the moment, and I don't think you can ask for any more at this moment in time.
Okay, well, before we finish up this segment, I just want to draw your attention to another prominent Kerry man who's been talking about Cork football, the great Buff Egan, as many will know, Snapchat extraordinaire, social media icon, usually only talks about hurling, but this weekend he went on a bit of a Twitter rant talking about Cork football, and I'm just going to read out what he said here, and I want to get your thoughts on this. It may seem far-fetched, but I think he's onto something. Buff is smarter than he gets credit for, I think, and he deserves a lot of credit for his promotion of the GAA. But anyway, I digress. Here's Buff Egan. This was one day ago. A miserable 1,658 turned up at Páirc Uí Chaoimh for Cork versus Down. This is a shocking crowd for a county like Cork. Why are these football games not played below in West Cork in football capitalised strongholds like Clonakilty, Skibbereen or Castlehaven, where the local crowds would come? So I think Buff Egan makes a good point. Obviously we discussed this a few weeks back. They have to play the games in Páirc Uí Chaoimh because they have a stadium to pay for, and we saw reports of the costings of that stadium going up again today and the debts that the Cork County Board have. But just humour me and humour Buff. Could we ever see a senior inter-county league game played down in West Cork? Clonakilty probably being the only option, really.
Clonakilty would be the only option, yeah. I think as it is, I think a county could nominate 2 stadiums to host their inter-county games, and you'd have obviously Páirc Uí Chaoimh and Páirc Uí Ring. It would be great to have a senior inter-county game down here. Will it happen? I don't know. Maybe for a McGrath Cup game. I couldn't see league game coming down here. I'm not sure could a ground here kind of, when it comes to terraces and seated stands and that. I know like Clonakilty have a superb stand over, Castlehaven have a great stand as well, in fairness to them, but I can't see a league game coming down here. I hope I'm wrong.
But realistically, like, would Clonakilty hold 1,600 people?
I think the stand can hold close to 900 over 900, so kind of you can fit a big crowd in there. And you only have to look at the weekend just up when the Kerry Tyrone game was moved to Eden Dork, was it? That there was fans sat in cars on either side of the pitch as well watching the game, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility. It would make sense in a lot of ways, because
it would be like a carnival.
It would. If you brought a Cork team down to Clon, the Cork senior team, you'd fill the ground. And then some. You'd have a great atmosphere there for the players as well. Kind of, there's a novelty factor of it too, and you're getting to kind of play in a full stadium, albeit a far smaller kind of ground. But then on the other hand, it's so important for the Cork footballers to play in Páirc Uí Chaoimh and to win in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, because they had such a bad record in the new Páirc Uí Chaoimh for so long. They need to make Páirc Uí Chaoimh feel like home, and the more games they win there, the better, because again, I'm looking further down the road to May when Kerry come up to the Páirc Uí Chaoimh for the Munster semi-final, and Cork really need to have their feet kind of feel at home at Páirc Uí Chaoimh for that game. Like Buff made a mention of the crowd as well. Like the crowd is very small. 1,500 and it
looks even smaller than that in a giant stadium.
It does, yeah. It's lost there, you know. It really is. But that is where Cork football is right now. Kind of they're at a low ebb. Go back to the Cork Tipperary game in the hurling the weekend before. I think there was 10,000 fans there. So if Cork get up to Division 2 and Division 1, picture 2 or 3 years down the line, if it's a Kerry Cork game in the National Football League at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, you would have more than 1,500 there. You'd have, I don't know, 6, 7, 8,000. So it's like, this is Division 3 football, kind of. It's not really attractive to the crowds. And have to note too that it was Storm Ciara last Sunday, so the conditions weren't great at all. Kind of, if a fan.
But it's not as if they were getting big crowds when there was no storm the last couple of weeks either.
No, that's true. I think for the opener against Offaly, it was a double header with the ladies. I think it was 2,300 there. It is what it is. Kind of go back to last year's Munster semi-final. We were there, Jack, and it was 18 or 19,000 for Munster senior football final. That was a final. Final. Yeah, sorry. On a lovely evening in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. So
Saturday evening throwing that was, wasn't it?
So kind of, it's going to take time for, I suppose, for the fans to throw their weight behind the Cork footballers. West Cork is seen as the home of Cork football. It would be great to see a senior game down here. I can't see it happening anytime soon. The under-20s were down here last year and got a huge crowd over in Clon when they beat Waterford, and they played Kerry in a John Cairns Cup game in Clonakilty too, and a big crowd there. West Cork would love to get Cork senior team down here. the Carbery board would open their arms and welcome everyone down here. Like you said, it would be a carnival. It would be fantastic if it could happen. I can't see it happening anytime soon myself. I hope I'm proved wrong, but it would make a lot of sense and tick a lot of boxes.
Yeah, well, big shout out to Buff Egan for the suggestion. We think it will be great. Probably unrealistic, unfortunately, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice to dream. Anyway, we'll leave that there for now. And coming up after the break, we're going to be taking a look at what's coming up in this week's paper.
Thanks for listening to the Star Sport Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to all things sport in West Cork. Don't forget to pick up this Thursday's Southern Star newspaper, including our award-winning sports section with everything a West Cork sports fan could want. In shops across West Cork and online from anywhere in the world via www.thesouthernstar.ie/e-paper. The Southern Star and the Star Sport Podcast, number 1 for sport in West Cork.
Welcome back to the Star Sport Podcast, and we're going to take a look at what's to come in this week's Southern Star Sports section now. And genuinely this week, and I mean it every week, but especially this week, this really is an absolute excellent piece of sports journalism.
It's a beaut. It's a beaut.
It really is a beaut. And the value you'll get out of this week's sports section for the $2.20 you have to pay for the whole paper. It's just incredible. You wouldn't get anywhere else. And Kieran's going to tell us why I'm so excited about it now, because I've been looking at the pages in the hallway there throughout the afternoon. You've also been telling me some of what else is to come up. So now, come on.
It's my chance. I'm centre stage now.
Yeah, tell us.
What in this week's sports section, we have a 4-page special on West Cork's 20 sports stars under 20. So what we've done is look at 20 rising West Cork sports stars under the age of 20. So they're talented teens in other words. What do you think of West Cork sport at the moment? It's the likes of the O'Donovan brothers and Phil Healy and Conor Horan. They're the giants of West Cork sport at the moment, and rightfully so. They're all achieving great things in their respective sports. But what I've done is I just looked at the next wave, I suppose the next generation of talent on the way up in West Cork, and it's phenomenal. Like I said, they're all talented teens, so they're all under the age of 20, and we've profiled the 20 of them. I won't give away too much because we obviously want you to pick up the paper on Thursday morning, but there's some from GAA to soccer, from rowing to road bowling, from camogie to ladies football to rugby, kickboxing. We've talented teens from all different sports. I suppose just to whet the appetite, just to give one or two who were in there. Fionn Hurley from Dunmanway, he's a Downey's footballer. He recently won the Downey's Club Player of the Year award for 2019. He won an All-Ireland under-20 football title with Cork last year. He's still on the Cork under-20 team this year. He makes the cut, and rightfully so. He's a 19-year-old who's probably the main forward on his senior team. So that's just one player or one of our talented teens that we will focus on. So it's well worth picking up this week's Star to see, Jack, because it just does show you the talent that's on the way up, and it's across a wide variety of sports. And like, it almost came to it did come to the point where I was actually leaving out some very, very, very talented people as well. So I could have done 30 under 20, but that didn't rhyme. 20 under 20 just fitted perfectly. And let's say someone for a moment like Jack Crowley from former Bandon Rugby, who's currently starring with the Ireland under 20s. He's just turned 20, so he doesn't make this list. He turned 20 in January. So there's some very talented young people on the way up, and we're going to profile 20 of the best.
Yeah, and I just think this in itself, for a sports fan, is almost like a collector's item, because when you have this in your house, you can put it away, and over the next 10 years even, I think it'd just be interesting to track how each of these athletes do, what they do in their future lives. So it'll be nice to have, because in 20 years time you can be sure some of the athletes listed here will have gone on to great things. So it'll be nice to be able to say, I've been following their career since the very beginning. So for a sports fan, I think it's a collector's item.
No, like I said, well worth picking up the Star this Thursday. As well as that, this week we have an interview with Conor Ellis. like we were chatting earlier to Denzil Fernandes, and we mentioned Ronan Hurley, 2 West Cork soccer players who were playing League of Ireland Premier Division. Go back a couple of years ago, and Conor Ellis was with Cork City too, and Conor was actually on that Cork City under-19 team with Denzil Fernandes. Conor then, the last 2 years, he joined Limerick FC, and as we reported last year, he then left Limerick in the middle of the season due to unpaid wages. And I caught up with Conor just to see what he's at now in terms of football, and it was a very interesting conversation and a very interesting interview, because Conor Ellis is 22, he's a striker, should be coming into his prime now, but instead he's parking football for the moment. He's 6 months out of the game. It's unlikely we're going to see him back in the League of Ireland this year. He had a couple of offers to play in the first division, but he's decided against it. So it's always a cautionary tale in some way, Jack, because when you're setting out, and Conor was the same for years, like he dreamed of playing professional football. He dreamed of going across the water or kind of plying his trade in England. But the reality is a lot different. It's a very, very hard sport, kind of the League of Ireland, in terms of trying to make a living out of it. You're on 40-week contracts. You don't get paid for 12 weeks of the year. So it's well worth reading Conor's interview just to see what he's at now, why he's arrived at the decision he has, why he hasn't closed the door fully on soccer, and just his thoughts on professional soccer in Ireland at the moment. So it's well worth picking up the Star for that as well. We have a lot more besides that, obviously. The Cork Down game and the Cork Dublin ladies game, we've the coverage of that. Also last weekend, even though Storm Ciara caused a lot of postponements, Carbery Rangers and O'Donovan Rossa met in the Carbery Under-21A Championship, where there was a win for Carbery Rangers, who progressed to the last 4 there. So plenty going on. Spartak Mosgrove got promoted from the championship lately, so we chatted to them about that. So
They got promoted by beating us 3-0.
You're opening your old wounds there, Jack.
Yeah, a dark day.
We'll move on quickly before the tears.
Congrats to Spartak, I suppose.
But plenty in this week's Southern Star. So great value again. So head to the shops Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. But make sure you head to the shop on Thursday and pick up this week's Southern Star, because it is a good sports section. And as well as that, to give a nod to the news team, they've done fantastic coverage on the general election in the past couple of weeks, and they were superb again at the counts at the weekend just gone. So there'll be some brilliant coverage of the general election in this Thursday Southern Star as well. So it's super value.
And if you can't make it to the shop, as Kieran has alluded to, you can also purchase the Southern Star digital edition online. Just visit southernstar.ie/e-paper, and it's all there for less than €2 per week.
So thank you for listening to this week's Star Sport podcast. We'll be back at the same time next week. So if you enjoy these... Do
it again. I don't want to edit this. Come on, we're leaving this in.
Thanks for listening to this week's Star Sport podcast. We'll be back at the same time next week. So if you enjoy these shows...
Come on, you can get there.
Please make sure to rate, review and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Acast, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to the show. And you know what? That just goes to show that I am human after all.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, excellent. So good recovery.
See you next week.